I'm going to try and keep this one really short because people were asking about making a little kind of description. We didn't get a chance to do this during the lecture this morning, so it's just to go over a very brief kind of getting started session for PHP with Laragon. I know a lot of you know how to do this easily and it's not a big deal, and others were sort of struggling a little bit and wanted to just to see it done. So we kind of got cut short during the lecture this morning, and I want to do this for you now. So I'll try to keep this down to 4 to 5 minutes maximum, just to explain how to sort of use Laragon to get a PHP file running and open up a local host web page. Now, I suppose the first thing to understand is that what Laragon is really just a one-stop shop for a whole range of open source tools. So if we kind of take a look at that, you'll see what I'm talking about. If you were to actually go to the website for Laragon, you can see that it's you can download it there. And the thing to download is to make sure you're downloading the correct version, because I believe the version 7 has something to do with serial numbers and it gets a bit awkward. The serial numbers is not a big deal. I don't think there's a payment about it, but either way, you want to avoid any hassles as much as possible. So what I'm going to do is just go to this section here where it says you can download from GitHub. We'll go there, and rather than use version 7, we'll go down to version 6. And that's the one I'm using. I have it installed already here, and we'll just take the assets and you can just download this file here. Okay, so go ahead and download that. It's a couple of years old, but it still works very well for your needs. Now, I know this is not the only way to set up a server with the PHP website. There's lots of ways to do it. You can just do it from code in any of the IDEs that you might choose to use, PHP Storm or Visual Studio or whatever. But for now, just for simplicity, I want to use a tool like Laragon just so I can demonstrate things visually. Okay. Now, what Laragon really is it basically, it's one of many types of tools which has a one-stop shop for getting a Apache server. There's WAMP server. You can get PHP, MySQL, and this is a common thing. That's really what it does. It just, that's what Laragon is really going to do for you. So when you turn it on, for example, you can see if you just turn your servers on, you can see there's literally Apache server starting and stopping. If you start all, you can see there's Apache server beginning and MySQL database is running. And it has this thing here called the root, which is where all the website files are going to be stored. And they're basically in this directory, c/Laragon/www. So we'll be looking at all of this a little bit more in a few weeks' time. And we'll see there in the www directory, that's the index file that we're looking at, okay? And basically, there are other things there. There's databases and all that stuff there, but I don't want to start looking at that today. All I want to do is get you started with a really basic web page. Okay, so it's this directory here is where we're going to put some files. You can see I have 2 in there already. I have index and I have index 1, which we'll look at. So, Laragon is a simple enough tool to do this. I mean, there are better ways to do it. I think this is a nice way just to get started with it. We may move into something else. I know some people are asking questions like, others are using WAMP server and others using XAMPP, and they're all the same thing. That's just PHP and Apache. You can use Nginx and all kinds of servers for it. And what they really do is they go to this open source set of tools. Here's SourceForge, where all the open source tools are, and gathers Apache for you. So that's what Laragon's really doing. It's saving you the hassle of going and installing an open source tool all on your own Apache server. There's the MySQL tools, PHPMyAdmin, HeidiSQL, all these things, even WordPress, are all open source tools. And these tools like Laragon just allow you to install all of those things yourself. So Laragon Full has Apache server, Nginx server, it's got MySQL, all the different versions, it's got Python compiler, etc. Okay, so that's what we're really about here. That's what I want to use. That's what I want to use Laragon for, just to get started. Okay, so let's go back to the tool itself here. So you know what it is. It installs. My entire computer is now an Apache server. If you log on as the admin, you are the administrator of this particular server that you've just installed. And there's a lot of things too, which we can go to in the next week. I'm going to start looking at the database next week where it opens PHP MyAdmin. But just for now, you'll see what that sort of basically looks like. It opens up an ability for you to make databases quickly. So that's why I like to do this in lectures, because it's quick and it runs fine. It seems to be it's not so quick today there. Oh, there it is. There's PHP MyAdmin. Again, that's another open source tool. It's a web interface for MySQL and MariaDB. Okay, so I'll be building databases with that in the next lecture. But for now, I don't really want to focus on building a database. I just want to focus on getting it started with any little type of a file. Okay, so really just Laragon with PHP. All right, so let's just take a look at that now in terms of the files I have in the root directory. So you can see we have the servers started, Apache servers running. Let's go to the root directory. Okay, so here it is. And in that we have two files. We have index and index1. So what I've done is I've opened those two files using, this is Notepad++. You might want to install that yourself if you don't have it already. It's not really a very fancy IDE, but for our purposes today, it just gets the job done, okay? So sure, we could use PHP Storm or Visual Studio and all the other fancy things. I just want to get this demonstrated today very quickly. All right, so here's the index page. This is a PHP file which I've just written with a little array. You can see there's two types of code in that. There's the tags for PHP. Open the PHP tag, close the PHP tag. It comes up in red there, and there's kind of this Java-ish looking code inside there, whereas everything outside of that in the body is what looks like HTML. All right, so our local dog shelter, HTML, you could all do that, and a little kind of link back to this other file, the index1, which I'll show you in a minute. So the first thing you need to know is in order to do any of this, you've got to open that file as a local host. If you just open the file the way you would have opened just an ordinary HTML file, it's going to look like this, which isn't very useful. It doesn't compile or it doesn't do any of the things that it's supposed to do. It's actually an interpretive language, PHP, but we'll worry about that later. And basically what we need to be doing is running this on a local host. So that's what I've used. That's why I'm using Laragon 4, because there's a lot of little bits and pieces that need to stick together. And I just don't want to be installing these in lectures, focusing on installing 20 different applications when I really just want to get down to the requirements and the engineering stuff. So if we click on web, it's going to open up the browser, and there it goes. So here is our page, and then notice it says localhost, and there's our local dog shelter, T Dublin dog shelter, and our dogs. Okay, dog 1, Frodo, Sam, dog 3, Pippin, Merry, Bilbo. Spot the theme of the day, Fellowship of the Rings theme of the day. And then if I click on this, please visit our site, that's going to go back to some sort of a main page. And we can just, it's got a bit of a style sheet. See the way it's turning red there? This other main page has a bit of a style sheet where we can just go back and forth. Okay, there's no style sheet on this page. So let's look at the code for those two files and see how they get on. So obviously the first one anyway, you can see it just has a body. It's got some, heading 1s and 2 tags. It's got a bit of a link that goes back. But what's interesting is the code inside here. So we can see I've just used an array of dogs. There's the names of all of the dogs that I'm talking about. And that's how you will just basically declare and initialize a very basic array in PHP. And I want to read through that array. So here's the indexes of the array. So index 0, less than 4. So 0 to 4, and output that. I don't want to output dog 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, because while that's the index of the array, it doesn't look very good in the output. So I've decided to just put a little index plus 1 while still outputting the actual correct index. Okay, so this obviously is going to output dog 1, 2, 3, 4, Frodo, Sam, Pippin, Merry, Bilbo. Okay, let's take a look. That's exactly what it did. All right, so our local dog shelter, there's the heading 2 and all the dogs. So this is important, all right? It's very important because generally speaking, while that's hard-coded today, you're normally going to drag that information from an array, or sorry, not from an array, from a database. And that's what I'm going to do in the lecture next week. And I'm going to just show you how to pull that information from a database rather than just pull it from an array. However, for lab 2, you were specifically asked in lab 2 to output something like this. And that's pretty much what I would recommend you do today. A little array of a few dogs or a few products or a few pairs of runners or a few handbags or a few music songs, whatever your bag was, football results, anything. Okay. Right, so it's a fairly simple file there. The other one gets a little bit more complex. This one, index 1, so I'll just go to that. I just have, a little bit more of a HTML structure with the div sections. I kind of generated this automatically and then modified it slightly, where we can just put some Laragon stuff there. It's not important what this does at the moment, but what I just wanted to stress is that it does have its style sheet within it. Now, of course, good practice would keep that style sheet in a separate file, but I don't want to make things too complex today. Okay, so that is our little website in the Laragon www directory, index 1. And I mean, it's not much of a website. It's a website of 2 files, but hey, that's what you were asked to do in lab 1. You were asked to make a website of 2 files or 3 files, list your products, and then I did say click on one of them, for example, that you could click on maybe Sam and get a little more of a descriptive of the other products. But that's easy enough to do. You can just make a link out of that. Okay, right. That's pretty much that. I will go into this further next week. So you have PHP started, just to recap there. So, the PHP starts with your open source Laragon PHP, and you can get a local host. I would like next week to at least do that and start connecting to a database using the other section here, the database section of it. Now I use PHP MyAdmin, which is here, because it's very quick and it's easy to run, and I can just sort of show you. There's my little hotel demo that I'm going to be doing with you. It just works quickly. All right, I'm not going to spend ages. I'll be typing in little bits of SQL files, SQL code for the entire 2 hours if I don't use some type of a visual interface. But the truth is, you can use whatever you want. Don't feel you have to use PHP MyAdmin. If you're kind of struggling with this, don't start thinking that, oh, you must use Laragon and I can't use WAMP or XAMPP. I know in the web dev server module, there's slightly different requirements, but remember, our module in software engineering and testing is a design module. So our objective is getting good requirements. Why would we want good requirements? Well, I want good requirements so we can make good databases. So we can pull out objects such as book and then make it a similar class such as book, should you be selling books, or user, email, password, should you be using a user login. And that's exactly what this is here. We have other ones. There's customer and there's sale. This is the type of thing I'll be doing as we progress in the module. And I've prepared these already, but this is essentially object-oriented PHP. Now we will have to look at a class diagram design before we do any of that, but it's fairly straightforward. Not that difficult to make a simple class diagram with 6 or 7 classes, doing hierarchies and inheritance and compositions. You'd be surprised. So for example, a sale is obviously going to have to contain a book. So there's a sale has a customer and everything else. Okay. And we'll look at all that later, but for now, just get going on the really simple one. You can even just sort of pause this video and copy that little 5-dog page back one for one. So just to show you that again, it's in the local host. We just have to go back and forth. And when we turn off all of that, that's going to cease to kind of run. It's not going to be available at all because the local host is not a server. We don't have a server. Okay, so we can see there when I do local host, if the servers are not running, it looks like it's still running. There you go. It says can't reach that page because it doesn't know what localhost is. PHP is a server-based language. It has to have Apache server turned on for it to run. And then there you go. It just popped up once more. Okie doke. I hope that answers the questions. I know a lot of you were asking that in labs. 15 minutes. That's a lot longer than 5 minutes. Okay, I'll close it off there and have a good day.